Hello boys and girls, and welcome back to another scary story time. Today I have a story by one Mr. Freaky, another connoisseur of terrifying tales. I hope you will enjoy the story he has written out for all of you to enjoy. So allow me to introduce to you the Uncle Clunk incident. Out of all the scary animatronic stories out there, I would have to say the one about the Showbiz pizza animatronic named Uncle Clunk has got to be the creepiest there is. Uncle Clunk was the first new character to be introduced to the Rockfire Explosion, which was the animatronic band at Showbiz Pizza. From the beginning, Uncle Clunk was quite a strange character, so much so that they actually referred to him as the Abomination in their shows. Yet beneath his odd, creepy persona, he was one of the most sophisticated animatronic characters produced by Creative Engineering Inc. at the time, with nearly twice the number of movements of any other character. He could actually pick up a telephone or a banana from a conveniently placed fruit basket. Less than 50 Uncle Clunks were produced, which meant not every store received one, or at least not at the same time. The idea was for Uncle Clunk to be a traveling character, appearing for a few months in a particular location, and later being removed and placed in another store. However, that didn't last long. Uncle Clunk was designed to be a wacky talk show host, and was built to look like a member of the engineering team, only with hugely exaggerated features. Shortly after the initial release, his creator rejected the character because he said it was too ugly for a children's audience, and that it just gave him a bad feeling. Although he was eventually overruled by the board. They decided to send out the animatronic anyway. Eventually, though, every restaurant he was placed at complained about him. Every single one. People thought it was creepy. Kids would say it wouldn't stop looking at them, and that it even tried to grab them when they got close to it. This really put a damper on the company's plans for their robot. As I had mentioned before, this was one of the most sophisticated animatronics they had ever built at the time. And the company wanted to get some return on their investment, so they would sporadically bring them back to the warehouse to tinker with them, try and see what was wrong. Which, at least from a mechanical standpoint, there was nothing. Although even the head of the company would say that he had never been more frightened of an animatronic in his life. Details as to why have never been released. They eventually tried reskinning it and changing its show around a bit, but nothing ever worked to get people to accept the animatronic. At the same time, throughout the early 1980s, dozens of strange mishaps began to occur at Showbiz Pizzas. The first of many being a serial killer abducting a child from one of the restaurants right underneath its parents' nose. Then the next was a few weeks later. It was a shooting that occurred one night, seemingly out of nowhere, by one of the dads who had brought his twins there for their birthday, which resulted in several deaths. Then, after that, the list just goes on. Aside from all these things occurring at Showbiz Pizza, there was no other connection until a detective realized these tragedies always seemed to happen at the locations which Uncle Clunk was temporarily installed at. And then there were the stories from the children, who claimed that the animatronic had announced what was going to happen before tragedy struck. After rumors of all this stuff hit the public, the company in a panic recalled all of the Uncle Clunk animatronics nationwide, and brought them back to corporate warehouses, where they just sat for years. That is, all of them, except for one. The one which was installed at the Showbiz Pizza I used to work at. I'm not sure exactly how we got left out of that recall, but due to some kind of corporate mix-up, we had one of those things for months after they were taken back. In fact, nobody in my restaurant, including my boss, was even aware of the recall at all. However, we all knew that there was something weird about that animatronic. For example, one thing I personally saw it do was when it would open its eyes really wide during the show. It would get stuck like that sometimes, just staring with these huge open eyes directly at people, and would fixate on certain individuals in the audience. Then even after we'd power it down and turn it back on, it would just go through the show and freeze again while staring at the same person. I started to notice it followed several people around like that until they would feel so uncomfortable that they just walk away or leave. I eventually told my boss we were losing business because of that, and he took the Uncle Clunk out of the main show, storing it behind a black curtain at the back of the arcade area. Our arcade was different than most Showbiz pizza restaurants, in the sense that it was divided from the main showroom and pizza area. However, moving the animatronic back there definitely didn't stop it from disturbing the restaurant patrons. I kid you not, at least once a week a child would run out from the arcade crying, saying that he looked behind the black curtain sheet because the robot had pointed at him or something. Considering it was totally unplugged at that time, these stories really freaked me out. Although I just tried to tell myself that they were from kids' imaginations and just to ignore it. That was until the incident happened. The one which would change my and several other lives forever. My brother was actually there on the day that it occurred. He was eating pizza with a couple of the neighbor kids, watching the Rockfire Explosion show, when he got bored and decided to run over to the video game area to play some games. After about half an hour, he stepped back into the showroom, with this look on his face I'd never seen him make before. It was one of total shock, like he had just seen something he couldn't begin to understand. Concerned, I walked over to him and asked what was wrong. He just said, "Uncle Clunk talked." The hair raised on the back of my neck as soon as he said this. But as much as it scared me, I needed to find out more. He told me that it sounded like he was reporting the news or something, and that it mentioned a tragic accident at a Showbiz pizza, leading to the deaths of several people. My brother really wasn't one to make up stuff, so when he told me that, I immediately took it seriously. I decided to walk with him over to the animatronic to try and make sure it wasn't plugged in. I guess I was just hoping he had somehow maybe heard it wrong. He stepped in the arcade room, and as I was about to follow, I saw the bright lights of a truck flash through the windows. Then the front of a semi-truck crashed through the wall of the building, crushing nearly everyone inside. I was knocked back by an arcade machine, but was mostly okay, though I was probably mere feet away from being killed myself. My brother wasn't so lucky. He had been crushed instantly by the truck. The truly terrifying thing, too, was when I got up to look into the wreckage. I swear the truck had just barely missed the Uncle Clunk animatronic, and it could now be clearly seen from the rest of the room. It gazed toward me through the concrete and smoke, with its white eyes giant and lifeless, almost mocking me. After hearing about the incident, corporate contacted my location and immediately returned the animatronic back to the warehouse, apologizing profusely for not keeping us in the loop, although there wasn't much that mere apologies would do at that point. I heard that since they have disassembled these animatronics, but that a couple of them were unaccounted for. I guess they were possibly sold to a collector or just kept by a disturbed fan who worked for the company. I even heard rumors that there's a collector out there who is intentionally buying up these supposed cursed animatronics, and that he's trying to create his own museum with them, which honestly terrifies me more than anything. I may never know why this animatronic in particular was the cause of so much destruction, or if there truly are any left out there, but please, if you know someone who has one, tell them to get rid of it as soon as you can. My story shows that they are truly very dangerous. And let's just say when the animatronic's creator decided to call it an abomination, they were not far off. Well, I hope you all enjoyed that little story. And I hope you all go check out more of Mr. Freaky's content in the description below. I will leave a link there just for you. So, all of you have a wonderful night, and sweet dreams.